Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sofa Sports News Football Show. I'm your host, Harry, and I'm joined by two of the SSN regulars, Mr. Alavi.
All right, how you doing?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, all good.
Good. We're also joined by Dan DeLuca, Mr. DDL. How are you, my friend?
I've just woken up after the afternoon's football.
Don't blame you. And returning to the show is Liverpool fan Andy. Andy, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm fine, guys. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
All good, all good. Right, the Premier League is back, and what an opening weekend it's been. Goals galore, but it's safe to say the biggest shock of the weekend came at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 2, Burnley 3. Cahill and Cesc both saw red, and they'll both be missing from Chelsea's trip to Spurs next week. Starting with you, Dan, what's gone wrong at the Bridge?
I really don't know. There was talks last weekend on our show on Wednesday night that no one seems to be fancying Chelsea. I can't really put my finger on what's gone wrong. I mean, obviously the Costa situation hasn't helped the club over the summer, and Morata, they've brought him in to replace him, and he had a good game actually when he came on and looked the part. But he's a completely different striker, so there needs to be a style change there from an attacking point of view. Matic has been sold from the heart of the midfield. I mean, these are the champions. They should be keeping hold of their players, not losing them. So I think that's affected the club a little bit. Conte's coming out in a tracksuit. I don't know. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but I don't know. It's all very odd. I don't think they needed that defeat yesterday. I thought they'd steamroll at Burnley 2 or 3-0 comfortable, and everyone would wonder what the fuss was about. But obviously the sending off didn't help, and I'd have expected them to handle it a lot better than they did. And it's quite suddenly the game against Tottenham looks a lot more difficult than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah, fair enough. Alavi, what did you make of Chelsea? Well, not what did you make of the game, but what do you think's gone wrong at Chelsea? I know it's early days and we shouldn't really be panicking, but something's not right there. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I told you so, but for a third pod in a row, I'm going to say they just lack the strength in depth. You have to improve your squad and your team when you're at the top. You know, someone like Batshuayi starting, that shouldn't alarm anyone. He's a £30 million striker after all. But, you know, when you go and see someone like, was it Jermaine Boga in their first 11? Like, they're better than that. I know you bring youth through, and I know Abramovich has put a massive emphasis on that. But for me, they haven't replaced like with like. And it's like what I said to you a few days ago. There's no strength in depth there. That their squad, in terms of senior first team players, is actually weak. And the sending off, for me, to be fair, was the turning point. It's a disgusting challenge. I'm glad it was a red. I don't expect Chelsea to drop out the bottom four. I don't expect Huddersfield to be beating teams like that 3-2 all season. But I do think it's an indication that Chelsea aren't going to be up there with Man United and Man City. And I still believe that.
Okay, interesting. Andy, Alvaro Morata came on and had a really good game, to be honest. But can he fill the void left by Diego Costa?
Yeah, I think it's a bit premature, obviously, what happened yesterday. The sending off never helped. It's always difficult first games of the season. You've got to settle in. It was a poor result for them, but with Morata, it's going to be the same sort of thing, isn't it? Going to have to wait a little bit until he settles into the pace of the Premier League. He wouldn't have faced many defenders like that, especially Burnley defenders. Probably gave him, a couple of digs here and there during the game. But he took his goal really well, and great movement in the box. I think he's going to be a big hit there, if I'm honest.
Okay, interesting. I mean, it's quite obvious that the spine of that team from last season that was so successful is missing. At the moment, there's no Eden Hazard, there's no Matic, there's no Costa. Has Antonio Conte shot himself in the foot by falling out with Diego Costa? Dan?
Well, yeah, I mean, if the results continue like that, then obviously, look, I mean, this is one game. They didn't win the Community Shield. You can forgive that. Obviously, they've come off the back of losing the FA Cup final and they're expected to win it. So they need to start winning games, and obviously they will do. And they need to get the confidence back that they had from last season. If Morata continues the way I think he will and the way he left off yesterday, the goals provided by Diego Costa, they're going to be replaced. I think Diego Costa, obviously, he's not my favourite player. I don't particularly like him as an individual or the style he plays, but there's no doubt it brings something to a team and can lift the side doing the ugly stuff. And obviously, has he bitten his nose off to spite his face? But then if you look more and more so now, top managers are doing this all the time. Pep Guardiola went in at Man City. He made his mark early on. He left big players on the bench. He sent big characters away like Joe Hart before even really looking at him. Jurgen Klopp done the same with Benteke straight away. He's kind of frozen out Sturridge. And there's other examples of that. Mourinho is quite famous for doing it all the time, whether, Juan Mata, for example. So I think this is top managers. They don't take any nonsense anymore. And when you're manager of Chelsea and other big clubs in the league, you can replace players. So I think he's obviously, there's been some problems with Costa, and Conte's not the type who's going to put up with it. And I think he would rather suffer for a short time and then get players he can trust in there. But obviously the wins are going to have to come very soon.
Do you think it's enough to show that Burnley won't go down?
Well,
because that's what I thought watching the Huddersfield game. What was it? It was 3-0, sorry, not 3-2. I don't think that's enough for me to say, oh, now Huddersfield are going to stay up. And it's the same with Burnley. I don't think it's enough just to think they'll definitely stay up, but I can see why. For example, I didn't have Burnley to go down, and I could see why others didn't as well. They've got that grit about them.
But sorry, I saw a spirited performance. Who Sean Dyche's words, they reacted well when Cahill got sent off, and they got themselves organised very, very quickly. But then what I saw was a team concede against 9 men. So you make it out what you will, but I mean that's you can't be conceding against 9 men in any situation. So it's one game, it's 3 bonus points for Burnley. They wouldn't have been expecting them, and good luck to them. I mean, I did tip them to go down at the beginning of the season, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I don't think you can read too much into that result from a Burnley point of view. Certainly not.
Yeah, it's far too early to be making solid predictions, in my view, anyway. Liverpool were held to a draw at Vicarage Road. They came from behind twice before new boy Mo Salah put them in front. However, a late Miguel Britos goal denied them an opening day victory. Andy, there was plenty to admire when it comes to Liverpool's attacking play, but again, we saw some schoolboy defending.
Yeah, it's been like that for 5 years, Harry. We just haven't sorted it out, and it's pretty evident now why Jurgen Klopp is waiting, hopefully, for this Van Dijk deal to go through, if it goes through. We need a leader there at the back. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the Sky Sports after show after the game when Jamie Carragher was going mental at Jamie Redknapp. I mean, Carragher's spot on. I do in a way blame Jurgen Klopp and previous managers that just haven't got it right. And it is literally set pieces. It is set pieces. When you watch Liverpool play, I don't know how much you guys watch us, but we rarely concede chances to teams playing creative football around us. It is literally, as soon as someone gets a corner, you might as well just give them a penalty. It's 50-50. We don't know whether they're going to score or not. And that's how bad it's become. I actually had a feeling Watford would get back into a game for a set piece. So yeah, disappointing in that aspect. But again, it's the first game of the season. I was quite pleased with the way we went forward in the match. I think we're going to have quite a frightening front three there, especially with the pace of Mane. It's great having him back, and I think Salah's got a lot to prove now in the Premier League after what happened to him at Chelsea. So yeah, that's all exciting. But again, the game's at the moment with Liverpool is clouded by what's going on with Phil Coutinho, and it's not good. I'm not happy again. I was on your show before, Harry, when I said to you, finishing in the top 4 was massive for us because Jurgen Klopp had already had some deals in place, and obviously them deals haven't been dealt with at the moment. And what my feeling is I think people are waiting for us to actually get through this qualifier on Tuesday night. It's the first leg against Hoffenheim. I think once that Champions League place is sealed, then hopefully the pending deals will go through. I'm being hopeful of that anyway. So let's see how it goes.
So, Andy, as a Liverpool fan, what are your feelings towards Felipe Coutinho now? Are you upset with him that he wants?
I'm very upset. I'm very upset, mate. This is, I went on to TalkSport Radio on Friday. I'm disgusted with him because he's got Barcelona in his ear. It's basically Barcelona who've got into this kid's head. They're making him make moves because Liverpool won't budge. One thing I know about John Henry and FSG, although they're not my favourite people in the world, is they're very stubborn. You all know this, Harry, with what they did with Luis Suarez. They shoved him in the reserves for 3-4 weeks when he wanted to leave and go to Arsenal. And they'll do the same with Phil Coutinho. What I haven't liked about what Coutinho has done is he did it a day before the Premier League season started, and he's done it before our most important match of the season. Don't get me wrong, Saturday was important, but Tuesday is the most important match of the season. It's going to shape our season. We need Champions League football. All that hard work last year of finishing above Man United and Arsenal, if we don't get into the Champions League now, it's going to be catastrophic. And what Coutinho has done is bang out of order. For what, we've actually made this guy. We brought him in from Inter Milan. He was, okay, he was a talented player, but he wasn't what he is now. We've built this guy up. The least we deserve was a bit of respect, not to come out and do this before, such an important couple of games, So I'm disgusted with him, mate. But I'll tell you what, I can't see him leaving now. I think what he's done is actually antagonise the owners even more, and it will make them even more determined now to hold on to him.
Andy, can I ask you though, if you, as a Liverpool fan, you got to see it from Coutinho's point of view. So he's watching the game yesterday, right? And he's looking at the first goal, and Firmino's attempting some sort of zonal marking. He's watching the second goal, and I don't know who it was, but he attempted to clear it. All right, he was a bit off balance, and he's managed to just smack his other teammate in the face. The ball's gone in. He's watching the third goal, and Van Adam's tried to, head it, and it's the softest header in the world. He's watching, and from the sidelines, his team playing the most attacking football and leaving their two centre-backs exposed, and they think they're going to sort it out with another slightly better central defender coming in, when in fact you should either be playing 3-5-2 or don't have your full-backs leaving the two centre-backs exposed. You're Coutinho, you're watching all that yesterday, and one of the two biggest clubs in the world come for you, and you win Champions League, and you're going to double your wages. What do you expect of these footballers to do?
Well, no, it's the modern game now, isn't it? And for someone like Phil Coutinho, obviously being Brazilian, South American, their dream is obviously to play for a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. I just don't like the timing of everything. And also, I get a lot of info from Liverpool. I know some guys that work in behind the scenes there for certain companies that deal with the club. Coutinho actually promised Liverpool that he wouldn't be going anywhere in the summer. He signed a 5-year deal 4 months ago with no clause in it. So, if anything, he's gone back on his word. And I think this is what's upset Jurgen Klopp. You could clearly see yesterday, Jurgen Klopp wasn't at it himself. That bubbly, character up and down the touchline. You could see something was playing on his mind. So, in that sense, mate, watching that game yesterday, I mean, I don't know what your point is. Are you saying, he's thinking, is this a crap team and I could go out and do?
Yeah, I think that's what.
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. It's the first
I'm not
game
saying
of the
crap.
season,
I'm just saying, like,
you
got to compare Barcelona.
Well, no, it was
with like schoolboy defending.
Defending was terrible, but that's not gonna make him think, after one game, I definitely want to leave.
Andy,
at the end of the day, this decision for him was made about 3-4 weeks ago when the first bid come in. His agent has got in his head. He's got one of the most snakiest agents in football anyway. Kia Jarakaban, whatever his second name is. I don't know what his second name is. Always been a snake, that guy. There's even talk that Pep Guardiola was sent by Barcelona to speak to Coutinho's camp about what a legend he could be at Barcelona and all this stuff. So they're doing all the dirty tricks, Barca. And they're the ones that have made him do this before the start of the season to antagonise Liverpool into selling him.
Andy, I just want to stop you there for a moment. You're saying
Go
that the timing of it, but the transfer window closes soon. What else is he supposed to do? If Barcelona are on his nut saying, you know, it's now or never, this move is going to happen now or never, of course he's going to force his way out of it. Now, the timing of the
now or never at 24 years old.
No, but Barcelona, if Barcelona don't sign Felipe Coutinho in this window, I honestly believe they will turn their attentions elsewhere. They want someone now, and that's why they've gone to Coutinho.
Well, if that's the case, Harry, then they don't really want him now, do they?
Yeah, but
Andy, this is all panicky because of they've lost Neymar.
You know, the timing of the transfer request came after FSG said he wasn't going anywhere. That's when Coutinho probably thought to himself, right, they're not going to sell me. I need to get out now, and I need to force my way out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a similar situation to Van Dijk, isn't it, at Southampton? Where
listen,
the interest has come in from a bigger club. And to be fair, a bigger club, when you're talking about Liverpool, I think it's a bit harsh because Liverpool are as big a club as any, albeit they don't have the success on the pitch that Barcelona has at the moment. But so it's a slightly different scenario to Southampton. But the guy wants to go and play for Barcelona because Barcelona are interested. He might not have wanted to play for Barcelona 4 months ago when he signed his new deal, and Barcelona
8 weeks ago.
8 weeks ago. So Barcelona might not have wanted him 6 weeks ago when they still had Neymar playing for him. So things change very, very quickly.
They do. Definitely.
If I'm Coutinho 8 weeks ago, signing that deal, to me, that's Coutinho saying, I want to play for Liverpool, and I believe Liverpool has got somewhere to go. We're heading in the right direction, and there's some things that can be done that improve the club. Because the same with Danny Rose at the club I support. Every player wants their team to improve. So what worries me more about the Coutinho situation is he a bit disappointed with the summer business? Is he disappointed that the club haven't bought in Van Dijk earlier? Is he disappointed that the defensive situation hasn't improved? Because everyone's always said to me as a Spurs fan, you have to be in the Champions League to sign players. You have to be in the Champions League to keep hold of players. You have to be in the Champions League, blah, 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 blah. Yet when we get there, nothing changes. And I look to Klopp. He's been there long enough now not to have excuses.
Yeah, 18 months,
I don't understand why these defensive problems are still occurring at Liverpool.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's actually, very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
The thing is as well, guys, I can't take Liverpool complaining about Barcelona seemingly tapping him up and being in his ear, because Liverpool have been doing the same thing all summer to Virgil van Dijk. What is the difference?
We're not complaining about that. That's not complaint. I've already stated lots on my Twitter handle. I don't like what Virgil van Dijk's doing. That's the truth. I actually don't like what he's doing, because if Virgil van Dijk,
you'd take it for him to join your club, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because definitely. But I don't like what he's doing. But that's the modern day. Look at Danny Rose. What he, Dan was saying about Danny Rose. Danny Rose completely disrespected Mauricio Pochettino, completely disrespected his teammates. He's actually turned around and said, "I've got to Google players' names that we sign." I mean, how do the players feel? That he's talking about there, and he's come out and apologised. These modern day players now, this is what they do. The agents, are in their heads and things like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Danny Rose has spoken to Carl Walker, and they've chatted about the wages that he's on. That's what Danny Rose said. A chunk of it was quite true, but he should never have voiced it to the public. And this is the modern day game now, unfortunately.
So,
and going back to Virgil van Dijk, Harry, if he comes to Liverpool, who's to say in a couple of years' time, Barcelona or Real Madrid or whatever come in for him, and then he wants to kick up a fuss like he's done at Southampton? That's possible as well, isn't it?
But what I mean is, Liverpool fans can't have a complaint that Felipe Coutinho has handed in a transfer request when they have been...
They don't have a complaint.
Yeah, but you just said that it was bang out of order what he did.
Yeah, it's bang out of order what he's done. Because Liverpool and Southampton is a totally different situation. What I'm talking about is that on Tuesday night, people don't realise how massive this game is for Liverpool. It shapes our season being in the Champions League. You know, you can't come out and do this, you know, after the way the club's treated you and the fans have treated you. You know, one thing about Liverpool fans, you guys might not know, I'm a Liverpool fan, you know, is we treat these stars like gods, like heroes. You know, we've done it for years and years, starting with the Keegans and the Dalglishes, and they're all treated like heroes and gods. And for him to come out and do this before such an important week, you know, Virgil van Dijk done this to Southampton when? It's been 6-7 weeks now since he's wanted this move. If Coutinho had done this at the beginning of the transfer window, maybe a little bit more acceptable, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
but not to do it now.
I get your point. I get your point about the timing a little bit. And I think, obviously, no one knew Neymar was going to leave Barcelona, which has changed it a little bit. So my question, I guess, for you, the situation Coutinho and Liverpool are in now, as a Liverpool fan, that's how it is. So from my point of view, what is best from this point for Liverpool Football Club? And I'm all for letting players rot in the reserves and keeping hold of players to make a stand.
Yeah, he won't rot in the reserves.
No, so
he won't rot in the reserves.
And I also believe that players who don't want to leave and are made to stay another year, after two or 3 days of sulking, they knuckle down and they get on with it. Luka Modric did that at Tottenham. He was made to stay another season, and I welcomed it. Other times, if
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Exactly. And other times, if players want to leave, then it's best to just let them leave and cash in. For Liverpool Football Club right now, today, to me, and me and Alavi disagreed on this, I would be selling Coutinho now, and I'd be taking the extortionate amount of money being offered, and I'd be looking to try and fill in the other areas in the first team, particularly, that are weak. And I know the first thing people are going to say is, well, Suarez left and we tried to replace him. It's a different situation. Coutinho is not Luis Suarez. And
no, he's not.
The position Coutinho plays in Liverpool, I think Liverpool have got ample cover in that position. And
do we?
I think you do, yeah. I think the two players...
Who can create like Coutinho?
Well, I'm looking at a game yesterday without Coutinho playing, and I've seen Liverpool score 3 goals and create umpteen chances, and they've still let him free at the back end. So without Coutinho, all right, you're going to lose the odd 25-yard screamer in the top corner. Yeah, you're going to, one game every 4 where he absolutely dazzles and he runs riot and he's the best player in the park. I'm not saying he's not your best player.
Yeah.
But
I get what you're saying.
Guys, let's move on from Liverpool now, because we're going to eat into our showtime, and it's a debate that we can go on all night. Dan, let's talk about your team. Spurs got off to a very strong start with a 2-0 win at St James's Park, or whatever Mike Ashley's decided to name it these days. Have Spurs just carried on from where they left off last season?
It was it was just a weird, boring game where nothing really happened of any note. And then John Joe Shelby got sent off, and it was a training ground game waiting for us to score. And we'll never know what would have happened if he didn't get sent off, I guess. It was almost a freebie for Tottenham, which was quite nice, because we normally struggle up there, and we normally struggle on the first game of the season. With Tottenham, obviously, not a lot has changed for us. We've lost our right back. Really good to see a young right back being given a nod today, a bit like Liverpool did the same thing as well, and he had a good game, Alexander-Arnold. But Kyle Walker-Peters had a great game at right back. But nothing's really changed for Tottenham, which it's the same. It's the same team. It's the same formation, the same setup, and it was the same workmanlike performance where we never really felt troubled at the back. I didn't feel troubled at the back, and I expected us to come on a bit stronger in the second half. And once Shelby got sent off, it was just a training game. So to get gifted 3 points like that on the first game of the season is fantastic for us, really, because we haven't had to break sweat.
Always nice, isn't it? Right. What about the other North London club, my club? Dan, I know you had some questions that you wanted to throw at me regarding Arsenal's performance on Friday night. Fire away.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, you were at the game, first of all. the first question to anyone watching Arsenal at the moment is what was the atmosphere like in that stadium when it was 3-2 and the clock was just ticking, and it didn't look like the goal was going to come? Because watching it on TV, I know it's difficult to gauge, but I felt that stadium, I wanted Arsenal to lose anyway, but I wanted Arsenal to lose just to hear the reaction at the end. Like, what was your view?
So, in terms of the atmosphere in the stadium, I thought it was actually one of the better atmospheres I've experienced at the Emirates in recent years. Don't know if it's the excitement of a new season, but I didn't feel that the atmosphere turned as toxic as it normally does when Arsenal are suffering and are behind in a game. I thought the atmosphere was a lot more positive this time, and I don't know. I like to say that I felt like we were always capable of getting back into the game. When we went in at half time at 2-2, I was convinced we were going to come out and win in the second half. When it went to 3-2, your mindset starts to change. And when you get to the last sort of 10 minutes, you begin to start convincing yourself that a draw is okay. And then you look to, think, oh, if we can nick a point here, that will do. I don't know. First game of the season, it's a difficult one.
Can I ask you both into as the two supporters of the North London side? It's a silly thing to say worry you because obviously you want to win, but is there ever a worry in terms of getting a good start to the season that a manager will think my team's good enough, I won't therefore need to bring in anything else when you deep down know they do? So like Dan, for example, is it they want the Colombian Sanchez? Apparently they've made a bid for Martial. Barkley's obviously on the agenda. Harry, we've gone through the Arsenal transfers like repeatedly over the last few weeks. But do you ever think, you know what, just one average performance and maybe it will give the chairman a kick up the backside to get these players in?
Yeah, well, with us, it's normally the other way around. We need a striker, and then Adebayor will score with like 10 minutes to go, having done nothing all game, and Levy's going to put the checkbook away. We don't normally get off to good starts to the season, so we're often plunged into the transfer market, and we don't normally do our deals anyway. And I mean, Harry will answer, but I imagine it's a similar situation at Arsenal where the club are naturally reluctant to spend anyway. So playing well.
Marco Asensio is the one for Arsenal I was thinking of.
I guess from an Arsenal point of view, I think as fans, we know that the team is short still. I think if you're a top level manager, regardless of how you start the season, you will have an idea as to whether your squad is strong enough to achieve your goals for the coming season. Now, I do think with most managers, the start of the season doesn't have too much impact. A manager will generally know whether his side's good enough. In Arsene Wenger's case, though, I think it's a bit different. I think Arsene Wenger can get carried away with the progress of youngsters sometimes. And you saw in pre-season, Reece Nelson got a hell of a lot of game time. He's one that Wenger's probably looking to break into this team this season. Rob Holding has been pretty good in the chances he's had, but he was awful the other night. So maybe that was a bit of a wake-up call for Mr. Wenger.
Yeah, well, Asensio's on like a youth contract still at Madrid. So either a club's got to go in for him and offer him big money, or Madrid will just up his contract because he's an unreal player.
Asensio's got a £72 million
release clause.
Buyout.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Asensio is the type of player that Arsenal are lacking at the moment. Anyway,
he's the type of player for any club.
So, what did you think?
Well, he's
go on.
No, I was going to say, I the one thing, Dan, you were saying when Liverpool should sell Coutinho, I was actually going to say,
have we gone back to Liverpool again?
No. I was just going to say about Asensio. I would, if we was to sell Coutinho, I would break Asensio's clause and get him in. He for me, I love that player. He's a fantastic player, and just like you said, he could get into any team. I think that's how good he is. You know,
centre back's not going to do it. Centre back's not going to do it at Liverpool. Like we won't get into it, but it's a system problem. So you're better off replacing, Asensio with Coutinho if he really wants to go.
I'd love Asensio. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant player. I agree with Harry in a sense with Arsenal. I think going back to the atmosphere you were saying, Harry, I was at the first game of the season last year at the Emirates when we won 4-3. I thought that was a good atmosphere as well. So I think it is a case of first game of the season, isn't it? You know, everyone's buzzing up for it. Can't wait to see what the new season brings. And you know what? If anything, when you were 3-2 down, you know, usually it does turn more poisonous than that, doesn't it? But you know, the fans look like they kept on going there, really.
Yep.
What did
The
you think of
handballs,
him?
probably.
Yeah, handball. Obviously, get one in early. What did you think of the boss's performance, Harry?
The boss's performance. Well, you know, I think his hands were tied in terms of personnel at the back. That is obvious to see with Mustafi not match fit, Koscielny out, suspended, Mertesacker was out, Gabriel's out injured. He had no choice but to play the players he did. I thought Rob Holding had a stinker, like I mentioned earlier on, which is a bit harsh because he's a good young player. He's got a bright future ahead of him. I truly do believe that. I think Arsene Wenger managed the game pretty well. I thought he brought the subs on at the right times. I know you mentioned to me, DeLuca, that it's obvious to bring on a striker when you need a goal. And yeah, it is. But he took off Mohamed El-Neni, who wasn't having a great game. But Ramsey just gave us that bit of energy and that extra player bursting into the penalty area. Now, in terms of the boss's performance, I thought he got the subs correct. The timing was correct. I thought it was brave of him to take off Rob Holding, considering that he was the only natural centre-half we had on the pitch. So to switch to a back four without a recognised centre-half on the pitch was a brave move. But he made the right decision, and he was bold enough to say, you know what, you two might be left-backs, but you're currently performing better than Holding, who is a centre-back. So I'm going to take him off. And that was nice to see.
I felt sorry for Holding. I felt sorry for Holding because he's a young centre back and he seems to be improving every game. And then suddenly he's in a back three with two left backs next to him, and he's almost had to shoulder the responsibility for that dreadful defensive display in the first half. And then he got hooked, which I'm not a professional football manager, but I would have left him on. I didn't think hooking him sent the right message. Obviously, they won the game, so criticising substitutions and decisions, kind of, you get away with it once you've won the game, and you will move on to the next week. But I couldn't understand the situation where we ended up with a right back on the pitch playing left back, two left backs on the pitch playing centre half, a right winger playing right back. I genuinely think there was a point in that game where Wenger wasn't really sure what to do, and he thought, "Oh well, let's just go for it." And maybe that's what the game needed, and that's why it works. But I do fear if those two goals didn't come in quick succession, I think the boss would have been in a bit of trouble again at Arsenal.
But Luca, just there, like you said, we ended up with right wingers playing right back, and we did, and that's completely true. The thing is, in my opinion, the boss's hands were tied. You said you weren't sure about Holding being taken off. Yeah, I totally accept your point that it could be bad for the kid's confidence. But the fact is, Arsene Wenger needs to put the team first. And I think there's been times in the past where he's not taken off a player for that reason, not to dent his confidence, and it's been to the detriment of the team. So for me as a fan, I was pleased to see that.
You know what, Harry? He needed to do that. He needed to win that game, mate. Because if he had lost that game, it would have been catastrophic for him to lose that game, especially after last year. All the fans, well, most of the fans wanting him out, and then he's got another contract. Imagine if he had lost to Leicester on the first game of the season, at home as well. It would have been poisonous for him. So I think the moves he made, he done it. He was desperate to get this win. He needed a win. Even a draw wouldn't have been great for him, to be honest. So you know what? I thought he got his sub spot on. I thought Ramsey was a very good choice to come on. But then I asked myself, why wasn't Ramsey starting in the first place?
Not fit. Not fit.
Yeah. I'll take that. Fair point. But it was a good sub in the end. So Wenger won the game for Arsenal at the end of the day with his substitutions, didn't he?
That's it.
That whole thing, Harry, about like left backs playing right, whatever. Like someone made the point that they ended the Community Shield like that, playing in a similar sort of way anyway, with just like a random assortment of players everywhere.
We did, but that was because Mertesacker got taken off injured. So that was a bit. We didn't start the game like that. We ended up with holding Monreal and Kolasinac as the centre halves, and that was purely down to injuries. Guys, should we move on from Arsenal now?
I'll say one thing though. I did like the look of he's still on the list of names I can't pronounce.
Beast. But, just call him Beast.
Yeah, I like the look of the Beast. I liked I liked his style of play. I liked the way he wasn't scared to go bombing forward at every opportunity. He wasn't scared to put in a big challenge. I think Arsenal were missing that over the last couple of seasons. And he gave a bit back to the fans with his little double drag back turn with a few minutes to go. And I was really impressed with Lacazette. His goal was superb, absolutely superb. And the importance of getting a goal in your debut is big. But to get it after 2 minutes, job done. The monkey's off his back straight away. And the rest of his play was absolutely brilliant. Who impressed you the most, though, in the game, Harry?
Ozil jumping out of tackles.
Here we go. Alavi has to chip in with a... No, it's a tough one because I don't think anyone played outstandingly for the whole 90 minutes. I think they kind of played sounds silly, but in phases. I thought there was times in the game where Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was good, picking up the ball, driving forward. In the second half, Granit Xhaka was brilliant, but he was awful in the first half. It's a tough one. Lacazette was pretty good throughout. I think I'm going to say Olivier Giroud, and I know he wasn't on the pitch for very long, but the thing with Giroud is, for me, is he comes on the pitch and he just gets involved straight away and he just gives the centre-halves an absolute nightmare. You know, he is a big guy. He's got a big frame. He's a very powerful forward and he's just such a nuisance. And I mean, for his goal, if you watch it again, you'll see he almost had his shirt pulled off him, but he still manages to hold off the defender and produce a header like that. You know,
it was a great header. Can I just say, though, in that game as well, I was really impressed with Jamie Vardy. And Mahrez as well. I was impressed with both of them for Leicester. To be fair, I thought they caused a lot of problems in that match. Yeah. And I think Leicester are going to be decent again this year. Obviously, Mahrez, he'll be gone, won't he? But they really impressed me in the game. Them too.
Cool. Romelu Lukaku bagged the brace as United blew West Ham away at Old Trafford this afternoon. Alavi, starting with you. Are Manchester United back?
Do you know, it's what I texted you during the game. I just felt West Ham gave up, and it's very difficult to read too much into it. Like I said, I do think that they've bought really well, and the spine of the team is clearly working. Lukaku's going to get you 25 goals, but I wouldn't read. I would rather read more into how Man City did, because that was tactically, I thought, brilliant. Whilst Manchester United, I do believe they were playing against a team that just collapsed after 2-0. It got a bit boring, to be honest. So I wouldn't read much into it. Let's give it a few games. A bit like City. Let's see how they do against Spurs next week, and see what Liverpool and Man United do in a few weeks when they play each other. It's too early. Honestly, West Ham look awful.
DeLuca?
I thought, of the top six, overall they were the most impressive. They kept their clean sheet. They got 4 goals going forward. Their new strikers bagged a couple. The new signings looked okay and settled in well. Yeah, West Ham weren't great. I thought 4-0 flattered United slightly, but they were still the best of the 6. They're still poised to make a decent title challenge. I know tactically, you say Man City tactically got it right, but then the strength of their opponent weren't necessarily the strongest either. And Pep sides are going to keep the ball. To be honest, it was a good display. I'm not going to sit here and knock a 4-0 home win on the first game of the season. When you look at how, Chelsea in particular, I know they had their excuses with a man sent off, but Spurs didn't set the world alight. Liverpool were terrible at the back again. Arsenal were shocking at the back as well. So overall, I think Mourinho will be delighted with that result.
Okay. Alavi, you mentioned about Manchester City. Let's move on to them. Jesus and Aguero both started up front together. Do you think that'll be the case when Manchester City play the so-called bigger clubs this season?
No, I think that's when he's gonna drop one, possibly depending on who they're playing. But I did tell you that Silva would start, KDB will start, and the two will start together because he's just got so much quality on his bench. Like, if you go through the names he had on his bench, like I personally think Sane changed the game. Like, he came on, and all right, he didn't score, but he completely changed the game. So to have like £200 million worth on your bench it's just unbelievable. Their strength in depth is unbelievable. I was, one of my Spanish friends actually was speak to him a couple of days ago, and he was telling me how like Pep Guardiola's got this thing about how he like divides the pitch into vertical columns, and a bit like what Henri was describing, but he went into more detail and it was really interesting. He was saying that like no more than two players can be in this zone at any time, and that the wing-back system really suits this, and they'll obviously adapt their shape. And we're seeing it a lot. We're seeing them go from three at the back to... And you see it with Alves and Lam and all these other players he's had. He loves the wing-backs. I just don't think he had it last season because he had people like... I think like Navas played there for a bit. And, like Danilo, Walker, they're just... They'll bomb up and down. They'll create that space. They'll turn it into a 3-1-4-2, a 3-1-5-1. Essentially, he just believes that there should always be a player to receive the ball in space. And if there's too many sort of players level with each other, then you can't really keep the ball moving forward. Obviously, on the other hand, if there's too many in a straight line down a flank, then you can't retain possession by knocking it sideways. And you saw that in the first half. I think they had, 75% possession and one shot on goal, but they had the confidence through the two strikers that you mentioned that eventually they would get a goal. I don't know, like, can you really see a team like City going out and playing those two strikers for the whole season? Like, is it not risky when you go to the Bridge, to White Hart Lane, to Anfield?
Well, yeah, I think it's risky, but if there's one manager that will do it, it's Pep Guardiola, I guess.
But that's what Klopp's got wrong. Like, why? Like, Pep understands the system, and for his system, three at the back is perfect. He's that sort of risk-taking manager. That's why I don't get why Klopp's doing it with two centre-backs.
I think it's a bit unfair. I've not been overly impressed with Klopp this summer. I don't know whether his hands are tired. I don't know what I know there's the famous transfer committee at Liverpool. I don't know how much they've got to say. But I think it's a bit unfair to compare Pep Guardiola taking a gamble against Klopp when Pep Guardiola's got a treasure chest to do what he wants. He's always liked wing-backs.
Yeah.
Attacking full-backs. But if you look at his teams in the past, he doesn't often have three at the back in a 3-5-2. It's more the fact that his sides are so much better than the rest of the league. He can afford to have the wing-backs bombing forward with just two at the back, and then he has a deeper defensive midfielder who slots in if needs be, which happens like twice a season if you're Barcelona, I guess. But the stuff about the lines and the columns and two players in the same space, I get it, but is this not something that's being slightly over-exaggerated because it's Pep? Because, if you took a 6-year-old under 16 training session, the first thing you teach him is don't bunch up, stay in your positions, that sort of stuff. And I do think a lot of people have kind of been mesmerised by some of Pep's successes, and now they take the simplest thing possible that he will do and like turn it into something absolutely majestic.
Master plan.
Yeah. Look, it's not, the left back plays left back and the left wing is in front of the left back and the right back stays on the right. I don't get it. The only time where Pep sort of implemented something that I sat and thought, yeah, that's interesting, was when he had one guy leading the charging pack, and said you will get the ball back in 6 seconds. And then to do that involves 6 or 7 players running into the same space. So it kind of contradicts the other theory of having people in the columns. So, I get it. I just think it's a bit over-exaggerated. One thing
I
I will
think Dan,
say,
people have like a propensity to like if something's attacking and it works, they go all over it. Whilst no one will ever talk about if Mourinho does something really, really well defensively, like he did for Inter Milan against, say, Barcelona. They'll just say that he parked the bus.
yeah,
But
yeah.
they can't actually understand what he did. Obviously, you do because you're Italian. So I mean, it's all you do. But anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. You're going to say
No. Well, basically, if our team conceded when I was a kid, we'd all get like taken back to the change rooms and beaten. It was like defense was key.
You need to
no
report that,
pizza,
man.
no pizzas allowed, Steve.
no pizza, no pizza,
Can,
no macro.
don't
Go
you
on.
think? Don't you think, guys? Sorry to interrupt. Don't you think that any one of the top 6 teams would have dominated at Brighton yesterday the way Man City did? I personally do. I think all the teams: Arsenal, United, Liverpool, Man United,
I'd like to think so.
Chelsea. They would have all dominated the way Man City did yesterday. If anything, I think they found it hard to break them down, and it was a mistake from their defender, wasn't it? Their fullback. He just passed the ball to De Bruyne, and then they were in. They actually found it difficult to break down Brighton, if I'm being honest. But I will say they do have a phenomenal squad. That bench was frightening yesterday. I mean, I remember seeing the camera going across the whole bench, and I was thinking, geez, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Any one of them players could fit into that team and do well. And with Gabriel Jesus and Aguero, I think it's going to be he's going to change it around, isn't he? Certain games where he might go with one, certain games where he'll go with two, and maybe change it around again. I think he's got that many options, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has
I think
certainly got.
Silva's still pulling the strings, isn't he? And like I said on the last pod, for me,
He's phenomenal.
Aguero
He's
is still
brilliant.
the best player in the league.
And you got to remember as well, they also now have the a certain Mr. Bernardo Silva, he's a brilliant playmaker as well.
But Andy, your bench yesterday, because I watched the Liverpool game. Your bench, like you can't compare that.
No, definitely. Obviously there was, with like Arsenal had to play a makeshift, defence. Liverpool, they're 4 big players missing for Liverpool as well. Lallana, Sturridge,
Sturridge is
Coutinho.
always missing. You shouldn't even count him nowadays.
Yeah, but he's still a player that you've got to count as a player that can do something if he comes on. But you just can't compare to City's squad. They've got just so many players and so many positions as well. The only thing is, one thing I will question is, I think Danilo I think he's going to find it a little bit difficult in that role. You can see he's always trying to cut back onto his right. He's not as natural as what Kyle Walker is on the other side.
I don't think he'll be playing there when Mendy comes back, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there you go. Another player that wasn't even on the bench, Mendy. I mean, crazy. I mean, how much was he? 40, 50 million pound, wasn't he? They've just got so much that they options in that team. And talking of both Manchester clubs, in my opinion, as much as I hate to say it, obviously Man United, but I think they've got it right this year. I think they've got the balance right. Yeah, I agree, Dan. West Ham were terrible today. I watched the game. They were awful, West Ham. They just went there with a plan to defend. Once that first goal went in, they went to pot, So, but Man United have got really good balance now in that team. Good spine. Lukaku's going to score abundance of goals. And Man City, obviously, we just spoke about their squad. I think these are the 2 teams that are going to be challenging for the title for me.
Okay.
Man United and Man City.
Fair enough. Elsewhere, Wayne Rooney scored in his first appearance back at Goodison Park in the blue shirt of Everton. What's Wayne Rooney going to be like this season? Dan DeLuca, how far can Wayne Rooney lead Everton this season?
Look, I think unfortunately for Everton this season is their ceiling is 7th, and I don't think they're going to be able to break through that. For Wayne Rooney, it was a good weekend for debut strikers as well, by the way, wasn't it?
I've actually got that on my list to mention, but yeah, carry on.
Spoiler alert by DeLuca. No, it was a really good weekend for debut strikers. I think Rooney will do well there. I think he'll enjoy being the main man again, because obviously he was the main man at United for a period of time, and then that as he got older and lost a bit of his power and explosion, he slipped down the pecking order of big names. But he'll be the big boy again at Everton, and I think he'll thrive on it. I think he'll do well. I think he'll get 12 to 15 goals, and I think it'll be a lift. But I don't think he on his own can propel that Everton team above one of the 6 clubs we're talking about. I mean, they're not going to finish above Chelsea. They're not going to finish above City or United. They're not going to finish above Tottenham. Are they going to finish above Arsenal or Liverpool? Of course they're not. So really, it's just, he just needs to try and bring on some of the younger players that are coming through that academy. If he can teach Lookman a thing or two about striker's instinct, things like that, that's the value he's going to give back to Everton. I don't think he's going to be taking them into the top 6 this season. I just don't think. I just think they're still that far behind the 6 clubs, the big 6, if you like.
Yeah, of course. Alavi, what about yourself? I know you've been a big fan of Wayne Rooney throughout.
Well, he's on my fantasy team, obviously, straight in. It's I think it's the 8th time he's scored on the opening day of the season. So I think with Rooney, it's just quite clear that he will do a very good job for Everton, but that probably is his level at the moment. And the real test will be in the next 4 games, because I can't remember the order, but in some order they've got Chelsea, Spurs, and the 2 United clubs. So that's when you see the real Wayne Rooney, when he hasn't got all of the possession and his team aren't the better team. So I think that'll be a real test of his character. I hope he does well, and I think even you deep down secretly hope he does well.
Do you know what? I've grown up absolutely despising Wayne Rooney, being an Arsenal fan. But I wouldn't mind if he done well. And the reason for that is because I feel like he was given such a hard time in his later days at Man United, the type of hard time that he didn't deserve. Be interesting for me to see if Ronald Koeman will start him in those tough away fixtures. You might see a change of system there. Yesterday was a home game. Wayne Rooney's return to Goodison Park. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if he plays week in, week out, I think.
I don't think he will. He'll play a lot of games. And he's still a great finisher. I mean, that header yesterday was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
He'll still play lots of games, but I think someone I can't remember who said it. He will be there just to help the youngsters like Lookman, and all these guys coming in, and also as well, it's a perfect career move for him. It's his hometown club. I always believed he would finish his career back at Everton, to be honest. So he'll score the odd goal here and there, but I hope he doesn't smash it there, if I'm being honest. Being from the other side of Merseyside, I hope he doesn't smash it. But Wayne Rooney's a good footballer. End of story. That's it. He's just a really good footballer.
Depends on Sandro, doesn't it? We'll see how well he does.
See how Sandro does, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Very.
As DeLuca mentioned, it was a blinding weekend for new strikers. Mounier from Huddersfield, Laka at Arsenal, Lukaku, Rooney, Morata, and Salah all scored on their debuts for their new clubs. We come to the end of this week's show, but I really can't sign off without talking about Huddersfield. What a result! What a performance!
Get in.
DeLuca, what did you make of Huddersfield's performance? How much of a boost would that be for them going into the new season?
I think it's it just makes everyone. I mean, I didn't watch the game apart from on Match of the Day, and I was looking. You start looking then for players you don't know. You think, have I missed something here? It's the same when it's not the first time this has happened. I remember when Blackpool come up and they got off to a good start. The QPR got thrashed 4-0, didn't they, on the first day of the season? Wigan had a good start when they come up, and every now and then a team comes up and takes you by surprise. So I was really pleased for them. I was really pleased for their fans. I don't know what was going on at the back for Palace in that first half, but yeah, I mean it's great when you sit there. Everyone's written Huddersfield off, including me. I've not seen anything of them in a championship that made me think they could adapt or had the style of football required. But they've gone there. They've got a blinding result, and I think the John Smiths won't be the nicest place for visiting teams to go, to be honest. So, yeah, if they can build on that, I remember Hull last year had a good start. If they can, get 25 points before Christmas and have something to hold on to, then maybe they could surprise us all. But yeah, brilliant result for them, and it ruined my accumulator, so I'm absolutely furious.
They ruined mine as well. Right, guys, that brings us to the end of this edition of the Sofa Sports News Football Show. I want to say a massive thank you to our guest, Andy. Andy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Of course, Mr. Alavi.
See you later, mate.
And Dan DeLuca, our regular. Guys, you can head over to sofasportsnews.com. You can check out our latest shows and the latest blog entries on there. We've also got a Facebook page, Sofa Sports News, the Football Fan Network, or you can follow us on Twitter at Sofa Sports News _. A big thank you to our partners, FNX Network, TagPay, Stelart Shoot the Defence, Elite Editorial, Perfect Radio UK, and Nick Tanner Events. Whether you're watching live on YouTube or listening on iTunes, make sure you hit that subscribe button, please, guys. It will mean the world to us if you'd subscribe to our channel. Of course, that's all, folks.